Prochain, guillotine, bien. Barre à bord, la pied gauche, un guillotine pour chacun.
Each morning at 6 o'clock, a turnkey would walk round the prison with a list of the prisoners due to be executed later that day. When he came to the cell of a condemned prisoner, he'd chalk a cross on the outside of the door, and later that day porters would arrive. They'd go into the cells marked with a cross and take the condemned prisoners to the guillotine. During his stay in prison, Paine got a fever, so the prison governor allowed him to have his cell door open for fresh air. That day the turnkey arrived at Paine's cell. He stopped and marked a cross on the door, but because the door was open, he'd chalked the inside. After he went, Paine shut the door, and that night the porters arrived to take away that day's victims, but as they got to Paine's door they couldn't see the cross, so they went away. The jailer walked off and Paine stayed alive. And even luckier for Paine, a few days later the Jacobins were overthrown and the new regime took him off the condemned list before anybody had noticed the mistake. While he was in jail, he started work on his next book, The Age of Reason. And one of the extraordinary things about this is that not only did he detail the ways in which the Bible contradicts itself, but he started it in his cell from memory. For Paine, the main enemy of reason was organised religion. He started the book by saying that all major religions are based on a miracle. But, he said, whenever these miracles happen, they were only ever witnessed by one or two people. It's like that recent story of a man in Lancashire who bought an aubergine at a market stall, and when he got it home, he cut it open and found that the pattern inside said God. So people came from miles around to worship the holy aubergine. As if God's going to say, some people still don't believe in me, eh? I know what'll prove it once and for all. I shall spell my name with the juicy bits of a single purple vegetable somewhere in Bolton. Christians, said Paine, tell us to worship a God who sent out his only son to die. What sort of an example is that? And about the Bible, he said,
whenever we read the obscene stories, the voluptuous debaucheries, the cruel and tortuous executions, it would be more consistent that we called it the word of a demon than the word of God.
I'll be there in 10.
But the major part of the book was his detective-like analysis of where the Bible doesn't add up. He questioned why, if Jesus was to make everything known to all nations, he could only speak one language. And the first 5 books of the Old Testament are by Moses, so why do 3 of these books always refer to Moses in the third person? And Numbers chapter 12 verse 3 says,
the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth.
Paine said that if Moses really wrote this, that must make him the most arrogant man on earth.
Call it a hunch, but I've got a feeling that this entire book is a pack of lies.
The Age of Reason had the impact of Lady Chatterley's Lover, Satanic Verses and Fahrenheit 9/11 rolled into one. And even more astonishing, when he wrote this, he was almost 60. The Age of Reason became another bestseller in Britain and in Germany and Hungary and sold tens of thousands of copies in one day in Philadelphia. By now, Paine seemed to revel in causing uproar. He became one of these people who could cause an argument with anyone and wasn't happy unless he was having a row. He wrote a letter to George Washington condemning his running of America and was especially angry that Washington had done nothing to get him released from prison. And the letter ended,
as to you, sir, the world will be puzzled as to whether you have abandoned your principles or whether you had any.
I'm surprised he didn't put, and P.S. you still owe me $1 for that cheese. Even then, he wasn't idle, and he helped Napoleon with a plan to invade England to inspire a revolution. Paine wrote a pamphlet outlining his plans, but it's possible he was losing his common touch a bit by this point, because the title was
Observations on the Construction and Operation of Navies with a Plan for Invasion of England and the Final Overthrow of the English Government.
Napoleon asked Paine to work for him full-time, but Paine felt that Napoleon was taking France towards dictatorship, so he refused. Napoleon was deeply insulted by this, and Paine described Napoleon as